New season, new faces, new regulations. We are here at the Hockenheimring. It's the new season of the DTM 2019 and we're excited to be here. It is day 2 and yesterday was a horrid weather. We had rain, it was freezing. Today at least it's dry, but it's still cold. And I'm here with a man who's the pole setter, Philipp Eng. Now yesterday you had really bad luck, but today you're in pole, so I guess it would make up for the day yesterday if you bring home the baby, right? If you win?
This would be pretty amazing, yes. This is something I'm dreaming of since I started DTM last year. To be on pole is worth quite a lot, but not everything, so we now have to put the head down, focus and just execute.
Well, best of luck, Philipp. Thank you so much. And now to the commentator.
Thank you so much. Yes, Philipp making up very much for the disappointing time he had in qualifying for Q1 and not being able really to set a time, so we're starting right from the back of the pack in race 1 yesterday. However, he's done a brilliant job today, and his lap time, we didn't see it coming. It was a 1:28.9, and truthfully that came from nowhere. Really weren't expecting it, and Philipp Eng has put the car on pole position, and as he says, he's done an awful lot of work in terms of getting himself so far to the front. Well, he couldn't get any further to the front, and Philipp Eng, can he bring home his first DTM race win? We have some rookies on the grid as well for 2019. Here's one of them.
And I'm here with a young man who certainly has the motorsports genes in his blood. Pietro, it's wonderful having you here in the DTM as a rookie. And yesterday you already collected your first point in a race. That's fantastic news. And today you're starting in P13. So do you think you're going to collect some more points today?
Yeah, for sure. Yesterday was a good race. You know, the team did a great job, executed well, and we got our first points, which was the goal. Now going into the second race, starting 13th. Still thought we could have done a bit better in qualifying. We didn't really maximize because the times are really close too, but you know, I think we have a really good car. And yeah, again, let's try to finish in the points. That was the goal this weekend, and that's going to be the goal for this race again.
And honestly, how cool is it to be part of the DTM?
Yeah, I mean, it's extremely exciting. These cars are amazing to drive. But again, like, the level is extremely competitive from the drivers, but also from the manufacturers. You know, Audi, BMW, Aston Martin, all very close together. So it's going to be a competitive and challenging year.
But enjoy it and best of luck for the race. Thank you so much. Back to you.
Yes, Pietro then doing a great job in terms of his qualifying. And we'll see what he can do from P13 on the grid. Of course, banking points yesterday for Pietro Fittipaldi, and he'll be hoping to replicate that today. It's so competitive in the DTM, as he indicated. Then we had the top 10 drivers all in the 129s, with the exception of our pole sitter Philipp Eng, who was the one that banked a 128.9. Mr. Gerhard Berger, of course, there just walking away from a conversation with Rene Rast, who had a torrid time of it in qualifying today. He'll be hoping for better things in the race.
And I'm here with Danny Junkerdea, and you are the fastest of the 4 Aston Martins, however only P14. That might be a bit disappointing, I bet. Are you hoping for a good strategy?
Well, we always hope for good strategies, especially when you're not starting at the front, but actually I'm not very disappointed. Of course, like you say, we want to fight the guys in front, we want to be in front. Being the quickest Aston Martin doesn't mean much, but looking at where we're coming from, you know, we've been developing the car in such a short time, and we are here with 4 cars without too many reliability issues, especially in my car, so that's very encouraging for the guys and for myself. And we are only missing a few tenths to the guys in front. You know, with 3-4 tenths we would be already in the top 8. So that's great. I mean, I didn't expect to be as close to the guys in front. So let's see what the race brings. I think we can find some pace, and if not, we're gonna keep learning, ticking the boxes for the future.
But I'm sure you're going to push hard. Thank you so much, Danny. Enjoy and best of luck for the race. And back to the commentator.
Yeah, so P9 for Danny Junkerdea yesterday. Good to see him here in the DTM, of course, with Aston Martin. And credit to our motorsport and Aston Martin for putting those 4 cars on the grid. And as Danny says, the development has been very, very quick. A short time to do so. Robin Freins was on the podium yesterday, P3. He's with Verena.
So here's a man who'll be starting in P3, Robin. Now, good luck for the race. The story about the new rear wing, is that going to improve the race, hopefully?
Yeah, we have a bit less downforce, we have more horsepower as well in the car. Tire deck will be an issue for everyone, but coming out of the start will be tricky, so the good start is essential, and then we'll see how it goes.
Thank you very much, best of luck, and back to you.
Yeah, Robin Frijns did a great job yesterday, found himself at P3. He was on the podium, and Robin Frijns then doing a great job. Be very, very good to see how he can do. He's done a good job in qualifying. He's put the car on P3 again, and we're talking about that new rear wing, the DRS then, and it's wider, and there you can see in full effect that DRS rear wing, 520 mil wider than their predecessors, but featuring just a single element rather than it was like a flap last time around. There we can see Jens Marquardt from BMW. And there is Sheldon van der Linde. For a rookie, I think he's done very, very well. P6 yesterday, and Sheldon van der Linde has qualified P10 today. The young South African, a brother, of course, of Kelvin van der Linde. We should mention that. And the van der Linde family are here at Hockenheim this weekend to support Sheldon. And well, he has done very well indeed. Back to Aston Martin and our motorsport. Now, bear in mind, from the very beginning to car completion that they've achieved in some 90 days. It's an extraordinary result for our motorsport. There's Joel Ericsson, a race winner in DTM, of course, taking a win in Misano in Italy. Joel Ericsson, who not only can drive a DTM car really well, he actually has an HGV driver's license. Not sure you were aware of that, but yes, Joel Ericsson can turn his wheel to a truck should he need to. There is Loic Duval. His qualifying time of 1:29.915 gives him a P8 time, so or a P8 grid position, I should say. And there in conversation, the head of Audi Motorsport. To the right-hand side of the picture is Dieter Gas, and he was to the left-hand side of the picture. The head of DTM, of course, Gerhard Berger. There is the Loic Duval, sorry Gerhard, there is the Loic Duval car. And Loic Duval is inside the car. Now, I was talking to Arno Zenzen, and he said that Jamie Green had a disappointing year last year, but he said, discount Jamie this year at your peril. He is back. And Jamie Green is getting into the car. He didn't have a brilliant time of it yesterday, to be fair, finishing P12. And Jamie Green is going from P7 today and could be a danger man from there. One place ahead of him is Timo Glock in the BMW M4 DTM. He's going from P6 on the grid for Timo Glock. We will never forget the races we had here at Hockenheim at the opening part of the season last year. Timo Glock was very much involved in that, and they will go down as epics with Gary Paffett and also Mike Rockenfeller as well. Gary Paffett eventually, of course, becoming the champion. Bruno Spengler, another former DTM champion, in fact became the DTM champion at BMW's return into DTM. He goes from P5 on the grid with that 1:29.8 time. So Bruno Spengler then, he's one of the few drivers on the DTM grid this year who has retained the same livery and same car colours, which makes it slightly easier for people like me. Bruno Spengler, and there is Nico Müller, another one who's kept the Castrol Edge livery on his Audi RS5 DTM, like the BMW Bank livery on that of Bruno Spengler. And Nico Müller then goes from P4 on the grid at 1:29.7 from Nico Müller. It got down into the 100ths and 1,000ths to split the rest of the grid, with the exception of Philip Eng, who brought out that 1:28.9. In fact, Philip Eng was the only one sub 1:29 time. Robin Frijns, who we've heard from, he goes from P3 on the grid. Was on the podium yesterday, banking that P3 place. Of course, he picks up a point for qualifying in P3 as well. And there is the Robin Frijns car down here on the grid of this 4.574 kilometre Hockenheim circuit, which features some 16 turns. 6 of them left, 10 of them are right-handers, and they were all to this man's liking yesterday. Marco Wittmann, two-time DTM champion, of course, took the race win yesterday. Was just shaded in qualifying by Philip Eng, but he has got a front-row start and goes from P2 on the grid. And that is the man that put it on pole position and did a brilliant job. That 1:28.9 time came from Philip Eng. Can he convert that P1 grid position into the race win? Hockenheim, 21,700 residents. DTM has been here since 1984. It was Gary Paffett and Timo Glock that took the honours last year, and the victories have been split across the manufacturers. And it's a fine town that welcomes us twice every year as the DTM season both opens and closes here at this town, which is about an hour from Frankfurt, maybe 1.5 hours from Stuttgart. And there the track unfolds. And you can see the 16 turns, including that fantastic parabolica which takes you up into the hairpin. The track opened back in 1932. Love coming here. Lots of history, of course, some good, some not so good. But it is an evocative track. There's no question about that, and it's one that the drivers love. Here comes the grid for race 2 this weekend. Philipp Eng, pole position, Marco Wittmann alongside him. Then we find Robin Freins and Nico Müller going from the second row of the grid. Bruno Spengler and Timo Glock. It's a BMW lockout on the next row of the grid, ahead of Jamie Green and Loic Duval, P7 and P8. Joel Ericsson and Sheldon van der Linde are on the 5th row of the grid, P9 and P10. Then it's Mike Rockenfeller and Jonathan Aberdeen. Took a gamble yesterday, swapping his wet tyres for slicks. It didn't work, but he tried. Pietro Fittipaldi and Daniel Juncadella is the best of the Aston Martins, ahead of Paul de Resta, P13, and Rene Rast out of position, P16. Work to do there. Ferdinand, Habsburg, and Jake Dennis round out the grid for this race 2 here at Hockenheim. So there you can see from the animation what this track is like. Weather conditions, well, at least they're dry today. I'm not going to tell you that it's warm because it isn't. The air temperature is 10 degrees, and I think that's being a bit ambitious, truthfully. A bit of harmless high cloud around. Don't think it's going to cause us problems. We're not. There's no rain predicted from this fantastic helicopter shot that we can bring you of the Hockenheim circuit as it unfolds beneath and beside the trees there that elongate the circuit. So there's going to be cooler temperatures, therefore more power to the engine, perhaps less tyre grip. We have to consider that, and the tyres have been very much a talking point. Hankook have not changed the compounds at all for this year, and bearing in mind this year as we change to the 2-litre turbocharged engines, it is the most powerful DTM car ever. So where once we used to see drivers come in on lap 1 or 2 for a mandatory tyre change with some 620 brake horse, plus of course the 30 brake horse available to them with the push to pass, tyre deg is going to be more of an issue, and tyre longevity is going to be more of an issue, we think. Of course, we couldn't suss that yesterday because we were running on wet weather tyres, with the exception of one Mr. Jonathan Aberdeen, who, fair play to him for having a go, I have to say. I spoke to DT Gas about that this morning, actually. Jonathan Aberdeen, of course, for the customer racing team of WRT, but I was speaking to DT Gas about it, and you know what? Apparently Jonathan was coming into the pit lane and he was screaming into the pit radio, "I'm coming in and I want slicks." He felt that it was worth a punt. Good luck to him. Didn't pay off, but it could have done. There is our pole sitter, Philipp Eng. His DTM win. It's always been a question of when, not if, because Philipp Eng is such a talented driver. Can he convert that P1 position into his race win? It's his second pole position. I think that's Dr. Andy Palmer to the left-hand side of the picture. The Chief Executive Officer, of course, of Aston Martin, who's here. Indeed, as we zoom in on him. Sir, great to see you here, and watching very much, and he should be very proud of the progress that's been made by our motorsport, and of course their drivers and engineers and the team as well, the team headed up by Dr. Florian Kamelger. Great to see them, and great to have the Aston Martin brand as part of the DTM. Philipp Eng, P1, Marco Wittmann, P2, and we are but a few seconds away from the cars being released on their formation lap, and so looking forward to this race. Where once it was 55 minutes plus 1 lap, we go to laps now in terms of race distance. And race control also have the ability to add extra time to the race, should it be necessary, following elongated safety car periods or anything like that. Now, Rene Rast, to give you, or to finish the story of his qualifying, was looking quick, then had a huge jump over some curbs. The car got airborne, car came down again with a bang. Did it break anything on the car? Because he had to be pushed back into the pit lane. And there was also a lot of oil over the windscreen of Rene Rast's car. He did manage to get back out again in the second part of qualifying, but he didn't improve his lap time, which is why we see Rene Rast down there in P16. But we should bear in mind that across the 18 drivers, we have times from 128.9 to 131. It's so close in DTM in terms of qualifying, and therefore very little time splitting P1 to P18. But nonetheless, Rene Rast is going to have to work very hard, and the strategy is going to have to be exactly right from the Rosberg team. So he was 1.7 seconds down effectively. So Rast with work to do. So the cars then making their way on their formation lap as we go through the grid once again for you. And the headline news is Philipp Eng has taken his second career pole in DTM with a extremely good time of 128.9 to put himself on pole position. The cars look and sound fantastic in this new era of 2-litre turbocharged engines. Yesterday we didn't see it to full effect because of the weather conditions. Today, whilst it's cold, it is dry, and therefore we're expecting a red-hot race. So into the garages of Aston Martin, also to BMW. Martin Tomczyk there to the very left-hand side of your picture. Former DTM champion, of course, Martin Tomczyk, and they're into the garages of Audi as well, with DT Gas to the right-hand side of your picture, and a big number of spectators here who I am told by my producer who's in the studio with me that an awful lot of those spectators have taken to bringing duvets and blankets and such like to protect against the cold, and they're just some of them in the main grandstand here at Hockenheim. So Philipp Eng then, he of course will have the longest to wait when he goes to his grid box.
Come, more. Stop. Position okay?
Philipp Eng in his grid box. He has the longest to wait as we await Ferdinand, Habsburg and Jake Dennis to go into their grid boxes, and then the start sequence can start. On board with Rene Rast then, who gives it a footful heading in.
10, 5, 3, 2, 1. Stop.
The cars do not have the benefit
position
of launch control anymore, where they used to be able to preload the clutch.
Stops.
Now it's much more reliant on the drivers themselves to make the difference when it comes to the start of a DTM race. With the green flag from the marshal at the rear, we have 3 red lights, 4, 5. When they're out, let's go racing. A good start from Philipp Eng. Robin Freins bogs down. Look at Nico Müller past Marco Wittmann. Timo Glock is up into P3 as well. Good start from Timo Glock. Unlike yesterday, he doesn't get turned around in turn number 1. A real drag race between the 2 BMW stars fighting over P3 at the moment. So Timo Glock secures that P3 place. Marco Wittmann tries desperately to get P4. So Philipp Eng is up the road. Jonathan Aberdeen, I think, just got out onto the grass, but manages to keep the car pointing in the right direction. Sheldon van der Linde in the middle of a sandwich there. But here comes Philipp Eng for the first time of asking through the hairpin. And from this helicopter shot, you can see how close it is at the back. Somebody locks up. I think that's one of the Aston Martins. And that could have been Daniel Juncker-Deyer, who was the best of the Aston Martins in terms of qualifying. So Freins goes back down to P8 from P3. He had a dreadful start, and now Jamie Green is tracking him with Sheldon van der Linde and Joel Ericsson right behind him. Joel Ericsson just putting himself ahead of the car of Sheldon van der Linde. So the 1, 2, 3 then, Philipp Eng leading the pack, and leading it by a country mile over Nico Müller and Timo Glock and Marco Wittmann and Bruno Spengler and Loic Duval. So let's put the first of 36 laps in the book of this DTM Race 2 here at Hockenheim. We're live with the best touring car racing there is. This is DTM, and already Philipp Eng has put 1.4 seconds on Nico Müller. In turn, Nico Müller is a second ahead of Timo Glock, who's running in P3. So the order is Eng, Muller, Glock, Wittmann, Spengler, Duval, Freins, Green, Ericsson, and van der Linde is in P10. So the cars snake through turn 2, 3, 4, complex. And now onto the Parabolica once again, heading up towards the hairpin. And look at the pace that Philipp Eng has got then. Timo Glock trying hard to chase down Nico Muller and reeling Nico Muller in. And look at this from Sheldon van der Linde. Oh, did he make contact with the back of the Jamie Green car? Don't think so. He is being pursued by the Jonathan Aberdeen car from the WRT team. So this three-way fight that's going on at the moment between Sheldon van der Linde, Jonathan Aberdeen, and right behind Jonathan Aberdeen is the number 47 car of Joel Eriksson. So the cars all come screaming through then. A trio of Aston Martins at the back of the pack at the moment. Bear in mind, a mandatory pit stop to come in DTM. At some stage during the race, they've got to, every driver has to come in for that mandatory pit stop. On board with Rene Rast now, who's in P14 at the moment. And Rene Rast has ahead of him a huge queue of cars that, of course, he would like to get past, but it is a long race, and Rene Rast knows that he will bide his time, but, of course, he will want to get up the order as quickly as he possibly can, but won't take any stupid risks and mistakes, and he's got Mike Rockenfeller ahead of him. I said yesterday that you can't take any form guide out of yesterday's result to give us an indication of what's going to happen today. That, of course, partly because of the weather conditions, but also partly the huge excitement of the DTM, where it's all so closely matched and so close that you can never tell what's going to happen. Jamie Green is looking really lively here as he's tracking Robin Freins. Now, this is the battle that's going on for P7 at the moment. Robin Freins in P7, Jamie Green P8. And Sheldon van der Linde is running in P9. So what can Jamie Green do in terms of getting past Robin Freins? Doing his level best to get on terms here. Eng continuing to lead and continuing to increase his margin over Nico Muller. It's now 1.6 seconds. So Nico Muller in the Audi, Philipp Eng in the BMW, and Timo Glock in the BMW as well. And Nico Muller apparently is under investigation for a jump start, but it's been decided that he didn't jump start. So Nico Muller is absolutely fine. So here then, Ferdinand Habsburg and Jake Dennis side by side. Ferdinand Habsburg goes through on the number 76 car of Jake Dennis. Ferdinand Habsburg and Jake Dennis, of course, former Formula 3 stars, and there you can see confirmation on screen. No further action for Nico Muller. We go on board with Ferdinand Habsburg, and here a replay of the start then. And well, Nico Muller did get a good start, but I think that was accentuated by virtue of the fact that Marco Wittmann and Robin Freins had awful starts by comparison. So Nico Muller did not jump the start. Every car almost runs wide right in turn number 1, right at the start of the race. That's always accepted. But let's go on board with Timo Glock. Marco Wittmann moves out of the way. Timo Glock takes advantage of that, and so too did Nico Muller. And Timo Glock, at this point yesterday, he made contact with Rene Rast and was turned around. Not so much bad luck today. He was able to get away nicely. Philipp Eng knew exactly what to do to get that start off absolutely perfectly. Joel Eriksson and Loic Duval also involved in the mix as well, and Joel Eriksson, of course, getting past Robin Freins at that point as well. You can almost feel the wheel spin on Marco Wittmann's car, can't you? It really, really... And there, Timo Glock getting past in the number 16 BMW. So 2 higher revs, perhaps, from Marco Wittmann. They don't have the benefit of this launch control that they had in previous years. We're on lap 4 of 36 already. There is Nico Muller, who's P2. And for my money, Nico Muller is being hauled in a little bit now by Timo Glock, whom we go on board with now. Running up towards the hairpin through the Parabolica, on board with Timo Glock. You can just see through our camera the vibrations now that you get inside that car with those new 2-litre engines. down through the gearbox, braking, using first gear to go through the hairpin. And Timo Glock gets back on the loud pedal once again and tracks that Nico Müller car. So everyone through the hairpin with no problems at all. And Philipp Eng maintaining his position at the front of the pack with 1.4 seconds margin. You can see there the DRS laps that are available to each of the drivers. Philipp Eng, of course, cannot use DRS because he has no one ahead of him. Nico Müller P2, Glock P3, then it's Wittmann, Spengler, Duval, Freins, Green. Then it's Van der Linde and Jonathan Aberdeen into the top 10. P10 for Jonathan Aberdeen ahead of Joel Ericsson, Rene Rast, Mike Rockefeller. Then it is Pietro Fittipaldi, Paul de Resta, Ferdinand Habsburg, Jake Dennis and Danny Junkerdea. On board with Rene Rast. Here the Parabolica. To his left-hand side, Mike Rockefeller. And Rast then down through the gearbox now, into first gear. Takes the hairpin, having got past Mike Rockefeller. So his quest to get up the road is on for Rene Rast. As very welcomely, the sun comes out and shines down on this Hockenheim circuit. So Philipp Eng, his lead is decreasing by a couple of tenths. It's down to 1.2 seconds now. Let's go back on board with Rene Rast then, who's in this P12 position now for Audi Sport Team Rosberg, into fifth gear. Sixth gear now. Absolutely flat. 265 kilometers per hour, reaching 270 kilometers per hour before he brakes and down through the gearbox into first gear to make this hairpin. Graphics on the right-hand side of your picture there. There is Sheldon van der Linde and Jonathan Aberdeen. And ahead of Joel Ericsson, before we see the Rene Rast car making haste his quest to get on terms with these. So all of a sudden it's going to be a four-way, three-way battle for P9. So Rene Rast then reeling in, Joel Ericsson ahead of him. Into the Sachs turn now, this banked Sachs turn. You can take an inside or outside line there. This is Timo Glock who rounds the final turn. This is Philipp Eng, our race leader, who breaks the timing beam now. Let's get a live gap between Philipp Eng and Nico Müller. It's 1.2 seconds. Timo Glock is some 2.3 seconds down on the leader. Then it is Marco Wittmann in P4, Bruno Spengler P5, Loic Duval P6. And then we get to this battle that we've been watching between Sheldon van der Linde and the car of Jonathan Aberdeen, ahead of Joel Ericsson, who's being chased by this man who we're on board with now, Rene Rast. Parabolica once again. He's made some adjustments, as you can see, to the brake bias, Rene Rast, and you often see drivers making adjustments during the course of any one lap to give them the braking power for front or rear, depending on what they need. There's the Mike Rockefeller car number 99. And Rocky, having really dropped down the order, now finds himself in P16. And ahead of Mike Rockefeller. And that's, I would say, a terminal problem for the car. Now, there's been all sorts of questions about the limited testing and running that these cars have had, and of course the all-new 2-litre engines. He seems to get going again now. So whether there was a reset that Mike Rockefeller had to do inside the car, but I saw him drop down the order and finds himself plumb last now. Oh, and out goes Loic Duval. So Loic Duval from Phoenix is out. What has happened to Loic Duval? So he's beached in the gravel there. He's going no further at all. Now that to me looks like it's around the Sachs turn. And therefore Loic Duval, did he just carry too much speed into the Sachs turn and not able to make the turn and went straight on. And there you can see looking on is Ernst Moser. So Loic Duval, hopefully we'll get a replay of that. And here's Mike Rockefeller, who's really struggling with that number 99 car now.
There's a chance to take, do you agree? Understood, Paul.
So Paul de Resta then is rolling the dice then and coming in early for his mandatory pit stop, and he's out once again. DRS has been disabled, and
safety car deployed.
The safety car is out for the stricken Loic Duval car. So all of Philipp Eng's hard work So this is Loic Duval then. Yes, he locks up, look, and goes straight on, and unfortunately cannot turn, and therefore finds the car beached, and Loic Duval is going no further in this race. And safety car has been deployed, so Philipp Eng then, who'd built up a 1.5 second lead, finds that lead reduced to 0. And sadly, it looks like a race retirement for Mike Rockenfeller. We saw him drop down the order, slowing, and, well, clearly there is an issue with the Mike Rockenfeller car, so Audi Sport Team Phoenix are not going to see another P2 place for Mike Rockenfeller from today's race. And there is Loic Duval walking away, knowing that his race is done and dusted as well. So safety car is out and leading the cars around, and we await the Loic Duval car to be recovered before we can go back to racing once again, as in comes Rene Rast. So the team of Audi Sport Team Rosberg standing by for Rene Rast. Fairly early on for this pit stop, but clearly thinking it's worth taking the gamble. And
okay, new tires and it's safety car, so take your time to warm them up. And we have to do a pit stop towards the end, so 2-stop strategy.
Wow, there, a 2-stop strategy for Rene Rast then. Of course, what he can do now, he can warm up the tyres because he'll get those tyres up to temperature. No tyre warmers allowed in the DTM, of course, so the tyres are cold. The safety car is going to come in this lap. Where are the cars now? They're heading down towards turn number 11, the Mobile 1 turn. So Rast is going to have to get the hurry up here, you know, to catch up with the back of the crocodile, truthfully. So Philipp Eng then. There you can see the safety car. The lights will go out on the safety car shortly because the safety car is coming in at the conclusion of this lap. And it will be down to Philipp Eng then to try and convert that P1 place and keep it, because in this Indy-style restart that we have in DTM, Nico Muller will be rubbing his hands with invisible soap, thinking this is a great opportunity for him. The cars line up side by side. I love the excitement of this Indianapolis-style restart that the DTM uses. Bunches all the cars up together again, and it's like starting the race all over again. There's the restart grid on the left-hand side of your picture. We are about to go once again. Philipp Eng, Nico Muller. Number of laps has been increased to 37 laps now following that safety car phase. What a sight this is to behold as the cars make their way around the final turn. All side by side. This is almost a perfect Indy-style restart. As Philipp Eng gives it everything on the loud pedal, Nico Muller tries to do the same, and Nico Muller runs wide. And is he going to be able to take the lead away from Philipp Eng? I think he has done enough. Or has he? Philipp Eng has got the inside now for turn number 2. So Eng through turn number 2, and now we're on to the turn 3-4 sequence and the long parabolica. So Philipp Eng stays ahead of Nico Muller for the moment. Timo Glock finds himself now in that P3 position, being chased by Marco Wittmann, and Bruno Spengler is lining up Marco Wittmann as they head in towards the hairpin. Timo Glock brakes, Marco Wittmann dives to the inside. To the outside is Bruno Spengler, then Robin Freins, then they go 4 abreast. Sheldon van der Linde out wide, keeping out of that skirmish. Probably a wise move, truthfully. On board with Rene Rast, who's trying to make haste now, of course, having been in for a pit stop and a 2-stop strategy. Jamie Green connects with Sheldon van der Linde, sends him around. So Sheldon van der Linde then gets turned around in the number 31 car. Looked like there was contact from Jamie Green, and Sheldon could do nothing about that, and therefore gets turned around. Well, the Indy-style restart does exactly what it is designed to do, and that is drive the drama. Jamie Green is under investigation for pushing another car. Let's hear from what I can imagine is a hugely disappointed Mike Rockenfeller.
And I'm here with Mike Rockenfeller, and I'm sure you must be so disappointed. What exactly was the problem with your car?
Well, first of all, I had an okay start, and then I don't know what Van der Linde is doing here, but he overtook on the outside and he pushed me on the grass in corner 3, so it was not so good. But then I tried to do a clean race, but early in the race I got warnings on the dash for low oil pressure on the engine, and yeah, it didn't stop, and then the engine didn't run clean, and I had to stop, and the car is full of oil, so there is an issue.
It's really unfortunate. Thank you so much, Rocky. Back to you.
Around now goes Marco Wittmann. Now, I missed seeing who took Marco Wittmann around. And he tries to get the car back, going in the right direction again. Listening to that conversation with Mike Rockenfeller, and I was just wondering if there was a comparison to be made there between the oil pressure of Mike Rockenfeller and perhaps the problems in qualifying for Rene Rast, and that was what my focus was on, and I missed seeing where and who connected with Marco Wittmann. Doubtless we'll get that in replay in a moment from now. Here is Timo Glock, who's driving that BMW in his quest to get on terms with those cars ahead of him. So Jamie Green gets a drive-through penalty for pushing another car. Who was it that turned Marco Wittmann around? So Jamie Green then will have to come in for a drive-through penalty within 3 laps of that penalty being awarded. And it's Pietro Fittipaldi under investigation for pushing another car. So we can only imagine it's Pietro Fittipaldi that made contact with Marco Wittmann. I mean, it was a real gaggle going in towards the hairpin, wasn't it? And this is Rene Rast. Now, has this been a massive strategy? Because his charge is up now, as you can see. As push to pass is enabled. And Rast gets past Robin Freins. So Rast is up to P5. Well, actually P4 now. He's got past Robin Freins. So Rene Rast then. This strategy could be exactly right for Rene Rast, couldn't it? We questioned it when we saw him come in, but here we can... this is the Jamie Green Sheldon van der Linde incident, which we were able to call that from the shot that we could see. There's the touch on Marco Wittmann then from Pietro Fittipaldi and Martin Tomczyk and Jens Marquardt there. Look at that, and the reaction from Jens Marquardt is rather more subdued than that of one Mr. Martin Tomczyk. So Philipp Eng, as Pietro Fittipaldi gets a drive-through penalty now. No surprise there, truthfully. Let's go on board with Rene Rast. Look at the pace he's got now as he tracks Bruno Spengler. This is going to be for P3. Extraordinary turn of events for Rene Rast. But an extraordinary great use of strategy. In comes Jamie Green for his drive-through penalty. Also coming in is the number 31 car of Sheldon van der Linde as they roll the dice, truthfully, in terms of strategy, and bring Sheldon van der Linde in after, of course, he got turned around by the car that is serving its drive-through penalty. So Jamie Green out, and here comes Rene Rast on Bruno Spengler and gets past him with no problems at all. And now it's the Nico Müller car that is ahead of Rene Rast. On board with Rene Rast then, you can see what looks like a rear view mirror mounted on the dash. It's not a rear view mirror anymore, it's a screen because of the new firewall in the DTM cars. You can't put a rear view mirror in. And here comes Rene Rast then with the DRS. And is able to get past Bruno Spengler and put himself up into that P3 position. And here he is on Nico Müller, all the way around the outside of Sachs turn. And Rene Rast now is very much the man to watch here. So Rene Rast, so much in the championship charge last year, now has the BMW of Philipp Eng within its target sights, and the gap is 9/10. Mike Rockenfeller discussing with his engineers inside the garage there the problem with the oil pressure warning on his car, which has seen the number 99 car retired. In comes Pietro Fittipaldi.
Pit stop light, stay on the brakes, brake balance to the rear. So you should have a clean track when you come out. You get a scrub set of tires.
Pietro Fittipaldi then serving his drive-through penalty. Marco Wittmann coming in for his pit stop. There is Pietro Fittipaldi back out on track once again, driving for the WRT team. And here then the
White line.
RMG team go to work on the Marco Wittmann car and release that from the pits. So we've had a stop from Marco Wittmann, from Paul di Resta, and also, of course, from Rene Rast. Rene Rast, of course, taking that pit stop under the safety car phase. So we're on board with Rene Rast now, who has got past Philipp Eng. So Rene Rast then, having got past Philipp Eng, we didn't see that because we were watching the cars in the pit lane, but Rast has just got past Philipp Eng, and this is how he did it then. Parabolica up towards the hairpin, around the outside. Easy job done, wasn't it? Although Philipp Eng tried to fight back at that point. Here we can see it from another angle, being inside the car of Rene Rast then. God, he was so late on the brakes going into the hairpin, but manages to keep the momentum. He's got Philipp Eng on his outside, but then Philipp Eng all of a sudden falls to being behind that Rene Rast car. So our race leader now is Rene Rast, whose pace is extraordinary. He has opened up a 1.4 second margin already, as Joel Ericsson then comes in for his mandatory stop. So the RBM team go to work on the Joel Ericsson car. We're on lap 14 of 37 here at Hockenheim in this DTM race 2 of the weekend, and Joel Ericsson is released from his pit stop. And here Robin Freins and Bruno Spengler. So Robin Freins with the inside here, but that will become the outside for the next turn, which should give the advantage to Bruno Spengler to retain that place. They are absolutely side by side, this Audi BMW fight. Robin Freins does get ahead of Bruno Spengler. But Bruno Spengler ain't done with this yet, I don't think. So Bruno Spengler in the BMW, Robin Freins in the Audi, and this is the fight that's going on for P4. And Spengler then, seemingly now with little to offer in terms of getting back on terms with Robin Freins. Rene Rast, 2.4 seconds up the road now in the lead of this race. That's amazing. Now bear in mind where Rene Rast started in the race. Fresh tyres, of course, versus old ones, potentially making the difference here for Rene Rast. There's Timo Glock in this fight here with Paul di Resta. Paul di Resta, of course, returning from his pit stop earlier on, where they took that gamble. And on board with the Paul di Resta car then, as Timo Glock tracks Paul di Resta, two former Formula One stars, of course, together in DTM. Paul di Resta in Aston Martin, Timo Glock for BMW. And Paul di Resta ahead of Timo Glock. So Paul di Resta then picking up that P6 place. Now this is Pietro Fittipaldi, who has done his drive-through penalty and has now come in for his pit stop. So 2 trips into the pit lane for Pietro Fittipaldi in the space of but a couple of laps. So Pietro Fittipaldi back out again now. Left foot braking, as you can see, down through the gearbox, and whoa, on cold tyres, look, really struggling for grip. The back end of the car gets away. Now, also getting away is Rene Rast. Look at this, look at the margin between P1 and P2. It's up to 4 seconds. Muller now under pressure from Robin Freins, who's on a charge. Nico Muller at the moment in the final podium place. So let's just bring ourselves back up to where we are in terms of the top 10 at the moment, as Robin Freins tracks Nico Muller here. Rast leads from Eng, from Muller, from Freins. And Freins here to the inside of Nico Muller. This should be job done with not too much problems at all. So Robin Freins ahead of Nico Müller now as Nico Müller tries to come back, but Robin Freins now is P3, Nico Müller is P4, then it's Spengler, De Resta, Glock, Aberdeen, Dennis and Ferdinand Habsburg, with two of the R Motorsport Aston Martin Vantages running in the top 10. DRS lap availability, well, plenty available to Philipp Eng, but is some 4 seconds down on Rene Rast. In comes the number 23 car of Daniel Juncker-Deyer. Finished the race yesterday, P9 for R Motorsport with that Aston Martin Vantage DTM car, which I have to say, in my opinion, looks an absolute piece. New tyres, loses 4 seconds on the outlap we're calculating in terms of the grip availability until those tyres are into their proper operating temperature. 5.6 seconds now for Rene Rast as Timo Glock dives in. Rene Rast absolutely charging around this track. In comes Timo Glock, pit lane speed limiter on.
Pit stop lights. Timo, you get now the scrubbed slick, so there might come some raindrops. At the moment we don't expect further rain, that's why we delayed a bit. You used already 7 push to pass, and I will keep you updated about the front.
So all the information on the team radio.
Everything looks fine, Timo, everything looks fine, go.
And he's away again after that 7.1 second stop for Timo Glock. Onto a scrubbed set then, as you heard. Whoa! As he gives it a footful and controls the power slide from the BMW. Oh, look at the adjustment he made to the brake bias, winding that back. Tentatively going through and nursing that car because it takes some time to generate those temperature into the tyres. No tyre warmers in the DTM. Weaving from side to side as he heads up towards the hairpin now. Brakes. So of those that haven't stopped yet, Philipp Eng has not stopped. Robin Freins hasn't stopped. Nico Müller hasn't, nor has Bruno Spengler, nor Paul De Resta. Beg your pardon, Paul De Resta has been in. De Resta was the first, of course. Forgive me, but the gap between Rene Rast and Philipp Eng now is 6.9 seconds. 6.9 seconds as Joel Ericsson puts himself ahead of Timo Glock without too much difficulty at all. So Rast leading by an extraordinary amount. And we're on board with him now. Accelerates away, and Philipp Eng losing out to Robin Freins around the hairpin. So Philipp Eng yet to stop. So too Robin Freins, but Robin Freins with the pace in the Audi finds himself in one position better than he did yesterday. He's up into that P2 place now for Robin Freins, and Philipp Eng relegated to P3. Just over half distance in the race, and here you can see with the DRS for Robin Freins, and through he goes around the outside of the hairpin and takes Philipp Eng. This is Nico Müller, and he has Bruno Spengler behind him in P5. Ahead, of course, is Eng and Freins, and of course, some distance ahead is Rene Rast, but in comes Philipp Eng and Nico Müller on the same lap.
Philipp pit lane. Top line, white line. We will fight for position on our way out. Freins, 6 DRS lap, Rast, 7 DRS lap left.
Can they get the Eng car out ahead of Nico Müller? I don't think so. They have to hold that car because it would be deemed an unsafe release. Has to yield to Nico Müller. But look, they're virtually welded together, and both of them are going to be on cold tyres now. So expect some opposite lock to be used. Here as Philipp Eng to the outside of Nico Müller. Nico Müller does lock up. Is this what Philipp Eng was hoping for? But Nico controls it beautifully and holds it together. Onto the Parabolica they go now. Just in passing, let me mention, Rene Rast is now leading this race by 7.5 seconds. On board then with the BMW there, and you can see Nico Müller is weaving because we were on board with Marco Wittmann, who is reeling these two in, and Marco Wittmann on tyres that are at operating temperature should be able to make short work of them, potentially. Rene Rast is just making short work of absolutely everybody and everything out there. So Wittmann then perhaps not being able to get close enough, and therefore any advantage he would have had has ebbed away now. Still, you can see Philipp Eng weaving from side to side to get those Hankook tyres heated up. Nico Müller is on a charge now, seemingly happy with the grip and adhesion available to him. And Marco Wittmann, of course, chasing the both of them. In comes Jonathan Aberdeen.
Your pitboard light off. This car's waiting for you. Switch your pitboard light on.
Ferdinand Habsburg also coming in. And it's not a quick stop.
Your pace is good. Your pace is good. And a shorter stint. Track is clear. Go, go, go.
The problem with the Jonathan Aberdeen car, they have not been able to get the Jonathan Aberdeen car back out. So whether there's a clutch problem with that Jonathan Aberdeen car because he's not been put down on the jacks, and now he can go. Well, that was a hugely long stock for Jonathan Aberdeen.
Fuck, sorry, man. I don't know what was going on. Anyway, we push.
Apologies for the language inside the Jonathan Aberdeen car. Apologies once again for that bad language. Jonathan Aberdeen, I would suggest from he made the mistake there in the pit stop rather than the team. It was Jonathan Aberdeen's fault. And of course, that meant that it was a really elongated pit stop for Jonathan Aberdeen, and that will have pushed him way, way down the order now. So Rast, who's now just 1/10 shy of 8 seconds in the lead. Jonathan Aberdeen now down to P16. There is Philipp Eng on the fresh tyres, of course, now having got them up to temperature. Nico Müller also the same. And Marco Wittmann chasing them now. Marco Wittmann in the number 11 car stopped much earlier on. And this is Bruno Spengler. In also is Jake Dennis. Spengler is released.
Go. Watch the white line. Watch the white line.
The R Motorsport team working on the Jake Dennis Aston Martin Vantage DTM. And Bruno Spengler is out now, back into the fray. And there is Nico Müller and Philipp Eng. And here comes Bruno Spengler. A big, big lock up now on those cold tyres. Sheldon van der Linde approaching from behind. Rast, Freins, De Resta, Green. So you have to look at this, and De Resta, of course, was one of the first to come in and shake the dice, if you were roll the dice. Chose to come in early on as Timo Glock gets past Sheldon van der Linde up the inside. And Paul De Resta finds himself in that P3 position now. Who hasn't stopped? It's Robin Freins and Loic Duval. Rast is in. Here comes Rene Rast. So this is his second pit stop because, of course, he stopped under the safety car for the advantage of having fresher tyres. This is effectively the mandatory one.
Okay, we are leading the race. We cover for safety car and the other guys who pitted. Yeah.
So here comes Rene Rast on his way out of the pit lane now. We await Rene Rast to return out on track. There he goes. So Rene Rast now, what are we on? Lap 22 of 37. There you can see the focus, the attention on the face of Paul De Resta. So Paul De Resta then in the Aston Martin Vantage. And this was a scary moment. He managed to control that. Wow. Credit to Paul for holding on to that. But you can see, just looking at the timing screen, his last lap was 1:35.410. There's a reason for that. It's because he was on the grass. but Paul di Resta managed to hold on to that car. And well done to Paul di Resta for so doing. Here is Rene Rast. And of course, with Robin Freins due to come in, this means that Paul di Resta will effectively lead the race. Aston Martin will be leading the DTM
Robin,
race.
you are P2. Nico already pitted 3 laps ago. So Müller, Enge, you will meet on the exit. Watch the white line.
So there is the Paul di Resta car going through. Now, when you consider Paul di Resta started P15, as Robin Freins is told to push, well, he ain't
fight for position.
He ain't going to push to get past Rene Rast or Jamie Green or Nico Müller. They've all gone through. So P15 start for Paul di Resta. Chose to come in early on and now leads the race. Marco Wittmann then gets past Robin Freins relatively easily because Robin Freins, as you can see, on cold tyres runs really wide. And that costs him valuable tenths. And who's approaching behind? That is Bruno Spengler. There is the Philipp Eng car running in P5 at the moment. And Nico Müller now and Jamie Green. Nico Müller ahead of the Jamie Green car. So the order on the left-hand side of your screen is, look at this. Very, very happy faces inside the Aston Martin garage because this man, Paul di Resta, for our motorsport Aston Martin, as Dr. Andy Palmer and Mr. Wolfgang Schattling looked on, is leading by some 13.9 seconds. So, and here is Jamie Green then tracking Philipp Eng in the number 25 car. So Paul di Resta his last lap was a 1:35.201. Make note of this, Rene Rast's last lap was a 1:31.898. We're on lap 24 of 37. Rast, of course, is on new tyres. He can chase down. Can he do it in time? Alongside me, my mathematician is going to work here in terms of the differential between the lap times of Paul di Resta on 1:35.2. This last lap as an example. And 1:31.8. Paul di Resta stopped on lap 7. Therefore, his tyre deg is going to be greater in any event. Come the end of the race, it's really going to drop. The question is, as Rast has brought that gap down to just 11.7 now, may I just remind you where Rene Rast started in this race? And what worked for Rene Rast here was under safety car going in for the benefit of fresher tyres. It was a strategy that worked. P16 Rene Rast started from. So Paul di Resta leads the race, now down to 10 seconds, the gap between them. I wondered whether this was going to be the case. What they're doing, they're bringing Paul di Resta in to put another set of tyres on that car.
Tyres than the guys you're fighting. Remember the laps is 1 lap more, it's 37 in total. To the safety car.
So Paul di Resta then, they've come in to put a fresh set of tyres on that car. As the team go to work, the R Motorsport team then on the Paul di Resta car. This is going to be for a position. They were struggling with that front. He's out. So Rast leads the race now, but this could be crucial for Paul di Resta for a really good finish in the race. Down the pit lane he goes now. That's Sheldon van der Linde going by in P10. So Paul di Resta now, he's on cold tyres. That's Danny Juncadella, and he's going to have Danny Juncadella and Jake Dennis with him, who are not going to cause too many problems to him. In any event, what has happened is that at one point in this DTM race, Paul di Resta for Aston Martin was leading the race. There he is vigorously weaving from side to side to try and generate temperature into the tyres. He's running in P12, but he's got 2 of his Aston Martin brand mates ahead of him. And of course, he is going to have the freshest tyres. There you can see Arno Zensen looking on then. Rene Rast then, extraordinarily, is leading this race. It just proves that it's not only down to the driver and the car performance, but also how the teams react in terms of strategy too. We're on lap 25 of 37 as Robin Freins is battling Marco Wittmann here. And on the inside, not quite. But going into turn one, Robin Freins is going to have the inside line here. So this is Robin Freins into P5. And the chase is on to Bruno Spengler. So on board with Marco Wittmann, of course, race winner yesterday. What a race we are seeing unfold in front of us. On board with Timo Glock, who's running in P7. And this from being on board with the Marco Wittmann car. Look how close the car to the right-hand side is now. This is Robin Freins. Outbreaks Wittmann going into turn number one, gets the job done. Rast leading the race from Nico Müller, and Rast has got some 4.1 seconds on Nico Müller. Philipp Eng is P3, Bruno Spengler is P4, but being chased hard by Robin Freins. Marco Wittmann is in P6, so there is Bruno Spengler. And Robin Freins in the number 4 Audi, running in that P5 position. Podium place yesterday for Robin Freins, who has set the fastest of anyone sector time of 42.1 across sector 1 and sector 2. Is very quick indeed, is Robin Freins. Crosses the timing line now and reduces the gap to Bruno Spengler. Rast has got 4.6 seconds over Nico Müller, and then Philipp Eng in P3. So Robin Freins with the chase on to Bruno Spengler. 10 laps remaining in this DTM race. Parabolica. And there is the Bruno Spengler car. Here comes Robin Freins, DRS deployed, DRS closed. Gets inches closer to the BMW of Bruno Spengler. So the fight between BMW and Audi for this P4 place, which will intensify in just moments from now. Now, where is Paul di Resta in all of this? P12, but he'll be on fresher rubber than anyone else. Will it work out? Will he get into the points? Well, at the moment, you've got Sheldon van der Linde P9, Jake Dennis is P10. So 28 of the 37 laps as Robin Freins continues his quest to try and get on terms with Bruno Spengler, but the lap times between the two of them are almost identical. In fact, Freins is just marginally some 0.6 quicker than Spengler, not making enough of a difference. It's taken him more laps than he would like, I'm sure. Rast, incidentally, is 4.8 seconds to the good over Nico Müller, who in turn has got a full second ahead of Philipp Eng, who's running in P3. Here comes Bruno Spengler, Robin Freins once again, this time without using the DRS assist. And what has he got left in terms of DRS laps? Robin Freins has got 4, Bruno Spengler has got the same. So through the flat turn number 7 as they head into the Mercedes turn number 8, into that Mercedes arena section of the Hockenheim circuit. And now Robin Freins is getting just a bit closer to Bruno Spengler as they run into the Sachs turn, this banked Sachs turn where you can take a high, wide outside line. and then let the car naturally elevate to the middle before the exit. And then, of course, that sweeping turn 13-14 sequence before the two final turns, turn 15 and turn 16. And let's get a live gap between Bruno Spengler and Robin Freins. It's down to 5/10 between the two of them. So Spengler doing everything he can to defend, but Freins is marginally quicker. But Bruno Spengler certainly knows how to defend, and Robin Freins will not find Bruno Spengler an easy driver to overtake, even with the assistance that could be afforded to him. Parabolica, is he close enough to have a go as Jamie Green goes through on Ferdinand Habsburg here? This is for P13. So did that around the final turn, and Freins takes a look at the inside of Bruno Spengler. Now, if Bruno can keep his foot in here and maintain the momentum, but he's got to put himself ahead of Robin Freins through turn number 7, and he does that. So Freins having a real go here. Freins will try and switch to the inside for turn number 8, and he does it and goes through. Well, perfect execution by Robin Freins then of that overtake. And credit to Bruno Spengler, racing room was left, and Robin Freins now finds himself ahead of Bruno Spengler, and it's P4 for Robin Freins. However, he is some 7 seconds down on Philipp Eng, who is running in P3. Paul de Resta has put himself up into P10 now, and there you can see inside the garages there, Robin Freins doing a very good job, as is this man, and so too the Audi Sport Team Rosberg. His last lap, a 1:32.2. The only one that's quicker is Robin Freins, 1:31.9. So Rast then up to the hairpin. 7 laps remaining. Turns in, out, heads towards turn number 7, taken absolutely flat. Rene Rast, what a star you are. Super slow-mo of Rene Rast then, 6.6 seconds to the good in the lead of this race. So qualifying was fraught with drama for Rene Rast. Here then is the Pietro Fittipaldi car being tracked by the car of Jonathan Aberdeen. Teammates together, of course, in the WRT team. And side by side now with DRS being used by Aberdeen to keep himself ahead of Pietro Fittipaldi. And does the job really well and goes through on the hairpin. Aberdeen, of course, who had that mandatory pit stop. Fittipaldi, of course, who had a visit to the pits for a drive-through penalty. So Philipp Eng then is P3. Now, I'm just comparing the lap times between Philipp Eng and Nico Müller. Hardly anything between the two of them, truthfully. So Parabolica, Rast is 8.5 seconds up the road, and Philipp Eng is chasing down Nico Müller. What have we got? 6 laps remaining in this race. 8 seconds to the good for Rene Rast. You could just see Robin Freins in P4. And Robin Freins is still the, what is he, in the 1:32.9s. As here we have the Joel Ericsson car and Jake Dennis. So Ericsson and Dennis here. Both former Formula 3 stars, of course, now with permanent positions in the DTM, which is really good to see. DRS and push to pass now is completely unrestricted. And Paul de Resta through on Jake Dennis to pick up P9. Oh, and a mistake there from Joel Ericsson, who just lost the back end of the car, and that has cost him valuable time. And Paul de Resta will try and take advantage of that. Oh, there's a little touch from Paul de Resta. So Joel Ericsson to the outside, Paul de Resta to the inside. Of course, Paul de Resta is on such good rubber now, and Jake Dennis trying to take advantage of it as well. And he goes through. So we have now Paul de Resta in 8th place and Jake Dennis in 9th place. So a brilliant showing for the R Motorsport Aston Martin Vantage cars. 5 laps remaining of this DTM race, being led by Rene Rast, who's continuing to just scream up the road. And it's a 9.5 second margin he has. Pietro Fittipaldi has just come into the pit lane. I can just see from the corner of our studio here. I'm sure it's Pietro Fittipaldi that's come in. So there is Nico Muller, there is Philipp Eng, there is Robin Freins. Now, last lap around, Robin Freins a 1:32.2, Philipp Eng a 1:34.0. Robin Freins is fancying another podium here, you know. So Robin Freins on the podium yesterday, of course, P3. That is within his grasp now, because the pace that Robin Freins is showing will be enough for him to get past Philipp Eng potentially. Rast, barring any disasters, is so far up the road he shouldn't have a problem. The only vulnerable ones here are Philipp Eng and potentially Nico Muller. So Rene Rast, as Hans-Jürgen Abt looks on. Rene Rast, of course, chasing Gary Paffett all the way to the title last year. His title chase starting in race 2 because of the failures of race 1. Philipp Eng makes a mistake and locks up going into that turn. That allows Robin Freins to get just a little bit closer. So we're on lap 33 of 37, and Philipp Eng can see on that screen inside his car that Robin Freins is getting closer, closer, closer. This for the final podium place, if everything stays the way it is. So rounding the final turn now, let's get a Rene Rast look. He's already going through turn 2. And 3, 4, and onto the Parabolica. So far ahead he is. And Robin Freins tracking Philipp Eng now. If he could get past Philipp Eng on this lap, it's possible that he could go after Nico Muller. So Freins on the outside with the DRS wing being used. Unrestricted use now in the final 5 laps of the race. Robin Freins puts himself into P3. The chase is on to Nico Muller. Does he carry a bit too much speed? Robin Freins into the hairpin, seemed to lose momentum there. And now, Paul de Resta, of course, on the fresher rubber than Marco Wittmann, could find himself P7. So here comes Paul de Resta for Aston Martin, up the inside of the BMW of Marco Wittmann. Wittmann tries to fight back. De Resta has got the momentum though, and has got the grip. So Paul de Resta now up to P7. Can he get on terms with Timo Glock? How far ahead is Timo Glock? We've only got 2 laps remaining. It's going to be a big, big ask, but it's not going to be a big ask for Robin Freins to potentially overhaul Nico Muller. Freins is flying. So Rast, 12.2 seconds to the good. Robin Freins is within 2 car lengths now of Nico Muller. Onto the Parabolica the cars go. Timo Glock is out of DRS, incidentally. Paul di Resta has got 1 lap's worth left. That could be critical. So under braking, Robin leaves it to the very last moment to push the slow pedal. I just wonder whether this is going to be an ask too much for Robin Freins. What an amazing DTM race. And that's a great shame. Danny Juncadea, a retirement for him. But for my money, R Motorsport and Aston Martin have got to go away from this weekend thinking, what a great job. To have come here and to be where they are. Here comes Rene Rast then, rounding the turn. There is Nico Muller and Robin Freins. This is Jamie Green and Joel Ericsson. Now we're on to the last lap. This is the fight for P10 between Joel Ericsson and Jamie Green. Jamie Green is currently P11. Joel Ericsson is P10. Ahead of them is Jake Dennis, who is P9. So the fastest lap comes from Pietro Fittipaldi, a 1:30.4. Taken 3 stops, of course. And that'll be the reason why he's on such good rubber. So Rene Rast then, who has Pietro Fittipaldi for company. Of course, it's completely academic, but nonetheless, Pietro Fittipaldi then in the independent WRT Audi. Rene Rast, though, leading the race by 12.1 seconds. The margin between Freins and Muller is 9/10. Arno Zensen looks on. We are on the final lap of this DTM Race 2 of the weekend before we head off to Zolder between the 17th and the 19th of May. And here comes Paul di Resta. Can he get Timo Glock before the end of this race? This would be for P6. Well, here comes Rene Rast for the checkered flag to take the win. Rene Rast wins with a strategy that worked. P1 for Rene Rast. Nico Muller and Robin Freins are virtually welded together, but it is going to be Nico Muller by a very, very small margin that takes P2, Robin Freins P3. Philipp Eng off the podium, he'll be disappointed. Bruno Spengler will be P5, then who will it be?
Du bist unglaublich, René. Danke dir.
Here's Timo Glock, here is Paul di Resta, and Timo Glock is just able to hold off Paul di Resta to take that P6 position. But a great result for Paul di Resta, P7. Marco Wittmann, P8. Another good result here. Is Jake Dennis going to hold on to this? No! Joel Ericsson just gets ahead of Jake Dennis on the line. Wow, what a race. Rene Rast then inside the car. Race winner. An extraordinary turn of events. And Paul di Resta, what a good job he did as well. Very nearly overhauling Timo Glock. So Arno Zensen then, a strategic call that obviously worked. And this driver put it all together out there on track. This is what makes DTM so intriguing. Nico Muller there, who takes that P2 position. And Robin Freins and Philipp Eng, P3 and P4. In replay then, Rene Rast crossing the line and taking the checkered flag. And there it is. And the delight on the pit wall. P16 start for Rene Rast by lap 1, P14 by the end of the race, the winner, P1. So the car's into the pen then. And Rene Rast then gets out of his car, race winner. What a display. Brand loyalty. Of course, the strategy definitely helped by the safety car, but they had to make the decision. And that was, you know, do we do it? Do we come in? We can afford to come in under the safety car. And it was the right thing to do. Nico Müller taking that P2 place. So the congratulations afforded. Arno Zenzen then. Team boss of the Phoenix team. And Dieter Gas there as well to offer his congratulations as well. There he is. Hans-Jürgen Abt too from the Abt Sportsline team. They're all lining up to congratulate René. So on the podium we're going to see Rene Rast, Nico Müller and Robin Freins. Not a bad day for Audi. And there is Robin Freins. And there Nico Müller at last with the crash helmet off, but our race winner once again, Rene Rast. So they pose for the 1, 2, 3 photograph, of course. Rene Rast middle, Nico Müller to the left-hand side, Robin Freins to the right-hand side of our picture as we look at it. So a quick discussion about the race and how it played out and the drama. What a win for Rene Rast. Let's hear from the winner.
I'm here with Rene Rast. You are the hero of the day. It's just amazing what you accomplished from P16 to victory. You must be absolutely raving.
Yeah, races like that, you know, obviously making a lot of fun. When we stopped twice on the safety car, had a very fresh set of tires, and then basically I was last, and then basically I passed everyone within 2-3 laps. Obviously that's a very cool thing for a race driver. I had a lot of fun, and in the end I was just trying to manage the gap I had, but yeah, overall from 16 to P1, great race.
Absolutely amazing. Enjoy the moment up there on the podium. Back to you.
He certainly will enjoy that moment, I feel sure. The classification then to come, and here it is. Rene Rast taking the win from Nico Müller and Robin Freins, ahead of Philipp Eng, Bruno Spengler, Timo Glock and Paul de Resta for Aston Martin. Then it was Marco Wittmann, Jamie Green and Joel Ericsson. The top 10 then displayed for you on screen. And then it was Jake Dennis, P11, Jonathan Aberdeen, Ferdinand, Habsburg, Sheldon van der Linde, Pietro Fittipaldi, Danny Juncadeo, and of course we lost Mike Rockefeller and Loic Duval with problems in the race, and they couldn't complete the race distance. And we await the podium. As you can see, it's being readied as we speak, and the drivers are on their way up there right now. So brilliant race with so much to talk about in that race in terms of how things played out, and the drivers on the way up the stairs now to the podium preparation area. And we track them all the way. So congratulations continuing to be offered in the podium assembly area. And the drivers will be up on the podium momentarily. Ollie Sittler there is in charge of voicing the podium ceremony. And here comes Rene Rast to the top step of the podium. P16 yesterday, P1 today. Car number 51 is driven by this man, Nico Müller. And he goes to the second step of the podium. Two P3s across the weekend for Robin Freins. And of course the Audi Sport Team Rosberg team represented on the podium as well, ahead of the national anthem. So the anthem plays out and time for trophy presentations to be made. To our top three drivers. Rene Rast, of course, took the DTM championship in his rookie year. So Lena Strasser from the German national ski team making the trophy presentation to our race winner, Mr. Rene Rast, who holds it aloft. That's a good-sized trophy. Harold Groves here, the former DTM driver, to make the trophy presentation to the team. And the P2 trophy then to Nico Müller. Rose called upon to make the trophy presentation to Robin Freins. That's me, sir. So there, the guys will hold their trophies high for the photographs before the carbon champagne is unleashed on the podium. So a great photo there. And time for the carbon to be unleashed then. as the celebrations continue on the podium of this DTM race in the sunshine at last at Hockenheim. And a deserved slug taken of it as well. So from here we head off to Zolder for the next rounds of the DTM and the driver standings then after 2 of 18 races. Marco Wittmann leading the points from Robin Freins, and Rene Rast is P3 in the points, Nico Müller P4. So here the start of the race then. Everyone jostling for position right at the very start. And Robin Freins really losing out. And Rene Rast, who, bear in mind where he started in the race, boy, did he have some work to do ahead of him. Already in the overtaking mode right at the start of the race. And when the safety car was called for, they decided to bring Rene Rast in to give him the freshest set of rubber purposefully. It was a good strategic call as it played out in the end. And then, of course, Indy restart, which meant all the cars were bunched up together, and Rene Rast was then, well, cutting a swathe through the pack, making haste his quest to get right to the front of the pack. All the way around the outside. Luckily, he didn't get caught up in the Sheldon van der Linde incident, where he got tagged by Jamie Green, who suffered a drive-through penalty because of it. Rene Rast escaping onto the tarmac runoff area so that he was unaffected by that. And that was a fortuitous moment and fortuitous driving. And this, the race-winning overtake then, as he gets past Philip Eng around the outside of the hairpin, and then he'd got the momentum. Of course, he still had more overtaking to do during the course of the race, but really it was a fantastic effort from Rene Rast to go to the checkered flag. So there, Rene Rast as he collects his race-winning trophy. Wow. Super slow-mos there of Rene Rast, and Nico Müller, of course, took P2.
Yeah, and this young man really fought hard from P4 to P2, so congratulations to that. You must be very happy.
Yeah, definitely. A good start to the season after a difficult day yesterday. It was important to have a good Sunday. Very happy for the whole team to have both cars on the podium, 3 Audis. I mean, it's amazing. And René really pulled off a masterpiece here with pitting 2 times. Obviously, yeah, lost the win to him, but I think if I had to lose the win to someone, I'm happiest to give it away to an Audi, and it's very good the way it is.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Nico, and back to the commentator.
So well done, Nico Müller, as he says, if he was going to lose the win to anyone, then of course he wants to lose it to a fellow Audi driver. And as he said, he made the point that they took the gamble to come in, and the gamble paid off. And well, there you are, that's team and driver working at their best together, and that has been proven. So there we have it then. We round out a weekend here at Hockenheim to start the DTM season for 2019. We head off to Zolder next. Thanks so much for being part of it. We'll see you there in a couple of weeks.
Oh wow, what a phenomenal first weekend of the new DTM season 2019. It's been absolutely amazing. We've seen so much action. We've seen bad weather, we've seen sunny weather. Now the sun's really coming out at the end of the race. And we're really looking forward to the next race, which is going to be in Zolder in 2 weeks. So see you there, and for now, enjoy the highlights. Bye-bye.